So this is the Roborock S8 Ultra robot vacuum cleaner. We bought this 20 months ago when we arrived in the USA, and it's been absolutely fantastic.
Turning off.
I'm switching it off because of the next thing that's going to happen. So 2 weeks ago it stopped working. It would work, and while it's busy mopping, it's got a mop and a vacuum in it. Clearly, because you clicked on this link, so you probably have the same one, because I couldn't find in many other videos about this on YouTube. It started giving us an internal error reset robot, no code. After a little bit of up and down, we managed to get a hold of the support people at Roborock, and they got us to do a few things like factory reset, which we already did. It didn't work, and then they told me to do the following thing, and let me just quickly make you a little video of what they suggested we do. So the support people at Roborock said whether it doesn't matter if you switch it on or off. They said we must aggressively push it forwards and backwards like an eraser for 10 seconds. In other words, this 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 1009, 1010. Okay, and that supposedly should fix it. Let me get back to the table again. Well, clearly the fact that I am making this video, it probably didn't fix the problem. You might ask the question of how is this going to fix it? And I have a theory around that. This is the wheel assembly of the Roborock S8, and I believe it fits a bunch of others also. And it has a normal magnetic motor. Now, if you know about magnetic motors, they will also act, unless you put some diodes and all kinds of interesting things in here, they will also act as a little dynamo. I did my training in telecoms when there was physical lines installed for telecommunication cables to every single house, and we often used to deal with something that we refer to as a dry joint, where something will disconnect because the joint is not properly made. Your option then is to follow that cable from someone's house to the exchange and go and solder or solder, depending on where you are in the world, each one of the points, which obviously is not practical. So we had a little mechanism, a little product, a little tool that we called a megger, and this thing would put high voltage across the line, effectively welding the line back together. So it bridges those dry joints and makes them work again. Now, the reason I believe that this is the case is that after much up and down and searching, my wife Desiree found on Reddit a post that said it's the left wheel that goes open circuit or disconnect, and that's why it fails, but it happens intermittently. It seems to happen every time the thing pulls, that it has difficulty using the wheel. Like, for instance, if it's mopping and it goes onto a carpet, it would have that error. After much up and down with their support, they came up to the same conclusion, that it's left wheel open circuit, error 106, and that we need to send them the robot because it's out of warranty. The thing that I'm seeing right now is I paid $50 for this wheel on eBay, and it was supposed to be a new wheel that I'm buying. This is not a new wheel, so I'm suddenly very concerned that I'm going to do all of this and it's still not going to work, but we'll have to see. The next thing that I want to tell you is do not buy this off eBay, okay? After much up and down and after searching and after much struggling, I found the left and right wheel combination on Amazon for $34. I'll post a link. That's as of, what is this, September 2025. I don't know when you are watching this video. So as of today, there are also almost no videos on the internet on how to disassemble this unit. So I'm going to make a quick little video on how to disassemble, replace this wheel and reassemble the robot. I can tell you up front, spoiler alert, there are two things that caught me out. They are little screws that got a little white sticker across them, and that prevented me from taking the top cover off, and once I figured that out, it sort of solved it. But pretty easy to take this thing apart. The cables are quite fiddly, so I'm going to go through that and then refit this unit, and we'll see whether the robot then works. Interrupting your viewing pleasure here with future video editor me. I ended up not installing this wheel. I sent it back to the guy on eBay, and I ordered and waited the 3 weeks for the other two to arrive. Just for what it's worth, I wanted the new wheels. The tools I'm going to use for this is my electric star screwdriver, because there's a bunch of these screws that you can just unscrew. I've got this pick that is to take the wheel assembly off. That'll become apparent later. I'm not really going to use any of these, so I'm putting them aside. A smallish flat screwdriver. This one says 3mm, and a sort of medium-sized 4mm star screwdriver, because there are a bunch of these screws that are quite deep into the unit, and a couple of small ones that you need to get out. First step, I want to remove this front cover over here. To remove the front cover, you literally just pull up on it. It only clips in here. It's got little clips like that, so unless you really manhandle it, you won't break it. Just pull straight up all around the edges to get that off. You can then take out the little thing for the buttons, but you don't have to. That's not necessary. As of the time of making this video, I'm not sure that it's absolutely necessary to take off the back cover, but you could do that by taking off these 4 little screws over here. I'm going to attempt to do it without that, take the top cover off without having to take that off, but I mean, it's just 4 extra screws if you sort of have to take that off. The screws at the back over here are slightly different from the fronts. They've got like a little flange on them. Just remember to put the right one in the right place. And this is not the first time I'm taking this apart. I did it to troubleshoot. I think one of these screws actually have one of those white stickers on them, which it could be one of the inside ones also, which obviously the supplier or the people, if yours is still in warranty, don't do this, because they'd be able to tell that you've taken it apart, because the little white screw will now be damaged. I hope that focuses so that you can see the white screw, the little label will be damaged, so you can tell that it's been taken out. And then I keep the little screws sort by sort, you know, where they sort of come out, and that's just for my own sanity, because there's a lot of screws. And that really takes care of the little LiDAR. You can just disconnect the plug over here, and the LiDAR unit is completely removed, so I'm going to set that aside. Inside here, just another screw at the bottom there, another screw here that holds the bottom cover. There is a little cable assembly over here. You do not need to take that off. You can leave that alone. You do want to take the little bin out and just set it aside. But I can't really see a reason to take the bin out, so if not absolutely necessary, don't take it out. Underneath, take off the rubbers and the rollers, take off the mop, and that reveals lots and lots of screws around the edge, as well as on the inside over here, as well as one down there and one here. It's underneath here that I found the other screw with the little white head. These are the deep screws where you need a long screwdriver to get to them at the back here. At this time, I'm not taking out this little screw over here. I'm also not taking out that little screw over there. I did take the long one in the middle here. I don't think those are necessary to get the covers off. In fact, yeah, I don't think they're necessary to take out at all. So I can just go around here and... The little brush here is different. You do have to take the little brush off. That removes this cover. And now you can access the battery, and that's got a little clip that you have to push and pull to be able to unhook the battery. That takes care of the battery. The deep screw over here. The deep screw over here. To the front wheel. Next to the front wheel. One on the edge. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little screws to remove the bumper in the front. Small little screws. And that will allow you to remove the edge of the bumper and pull the bumper off in the opposite direction. Bumper edge. And now the bumper itself. Catch that screw. The bumper itself comes off in the opposite direction, and of course when you turn this thing over, all the screws that you loosened are going to come off at the bottom over there. Now you can leave the bumper in place while you're doing the next steps. There is a little cable here that you need. To disconnect on the front sensor to be able to remove the bumper. Little cable. Okay, so answered. You do not have to take the cover off to be able to take the top cover. This little spring needs to disconnect over there, and this is part of what I want the pick for, is to just unhook the spring. And then we have, and I'm going to show you that on the other side, a shaft that holds the wheel assembly in place. In my case, it's the left wheel assembly that's a problem. Do take note of how these cables run, because from the motor you've got basically two cables. One plugs into here and the other one goes around and plugs into there, which I obviously still need to figure out, because to access this shaft it has to push from the inside out. You have to move this guy out the way, and it really just sits you with a little clip. A little bit of pressure will make it move back, and you just need to move it back into place when you assemble the top cover again. And that's the little shaft that you want to push out. Part of why I needed the pick. Let me see if I can do this with one hand. That's it over there. Pull the shaft out, and remember that the assembly is spring loaded. You need to disconnect the spring as you take this thing out.
Later.
Okay, and then after I've removed the wheel assembly with the spring that I need to transfer to the other one, the cable plugs in over here with another brown cable that follows underneath here and goes to this little micro switch that's attached to the thing. Just note how these cables run, because there's very little space inside here, so we do want to just keep it where it's supposed to go.
Just then.
To reassemble the wheel, you just fiddle it back into here. I put the shaft in so that the wheel is on its pivot, and then I connected the spring to the back of the wheel first, because there's a little bridge here that it needs to go underneath. And then I think I can do this with one hand. Just grab the spring and pull it over. And that is the wheel assembly reinstalled, the micro switch working for when it goes over a cliff. And now you can reassemble the robot in reverse order. LiDAR cover, remember 2 stubby screws at the back and the screws with the flanges on the front. And then we can reinstall the bumper, remembering to connect the bumper wire. 6 little screws secure the bumper cover to put it back in place, and then we can reinstall the battery, remembering to put the connector back in place. With the battery back in place, we can now remember to install these little screws that go under the bottom cover, and after that we will put the bottom cover back in place. With the bottom cover in place and all these big screws, remember that one is the screw that's different. We can put the little sweeper brush back in place, and then the rollers, and then the top cover and the dustbin.